Okay, so generally the foundation, the Creative Foundation, was set up in 2002, so 6 years before the first Triennial. Were there already plans at that stage to host a Triennial?
No, I think there was an early idea, but not as far ago as 2002, when really it was a charity just set up to see how art could help regenerate a town. But there was already an idea that a sculpture park would be something of interest.
Okay.
And certain research went into what could a sculpture park be like, and I think curators were brought in, different people were brought in, and most of them said, well, no, I don't think you can do it. And then Andrea Schleicher, the curator, came and said, no, you don't want a sculpture park, you want a triennial. And that's how the idea came, and it stuck.
And she curated the first 2 Triennials?
She did, yes.
And this year it's Lewis Biggs?
Correct, yeah.
And what is the involvement of the Creative Foundation in organising the Triennial then?
There is only the Creative Foundation in that sense. We are the charitable trust that is set up to do arts activities in Folkestone, and we run the Triennial. So we are the organisation that runs it, and we run other things. So the Triennial, Quarterhouse, the Creative Quarter, Book Festival, so on. So it's one of our projects, and what that involves is saying, yep, we're going to do it. This is what we want it to be like. This is how much money we've got, and this is the curator we want. And then, working with the curator to support him to deliver him, or in Andrea's case, is her vision.
Okay. So how would you say that the Triennial has impacted Folkestone over the last 6 years?
I think they've changed over the 3 times, and understandably so. I think the first idea of a triennial, perhaps the town was unaware of what it might be and what it was, and so it was very much a model of bringing artists in and saying, here's a town, how would you respond to it? And by the time you get to the third triennial with Lewis Biggs doing it, it's much more a case of him saying, understanding this is the town, this is what's happening in the town, this is where the energy is, this is what people are trying to do, what artists might involve themselves in what they're trying to do. And you couldn't have done that in the first triennial, but you can now, because the town is more aware of what it might be and how it might change and what might happen, and what a triennial is about. So they're much more welcoming to artists and understand what artists can bring. So we're sitting in a brand new park, Payers Park, which was built by Muff Architecture Art, so they're both artists and architects, but they went out and talked to the public and the people who used the area and say, what would you like in a park? How would you like it? And then they as artists have created something from those conversations.
There seem to be quite a few of the artworks that are involving the community.
Yeah, there are. I mean, even the ones that don't obviously look like they're involving the community, like the wind lift, it's in a part of town that was coming to us and saying, what will you bring to our part of town? We think we want to see change here, and we think you can do it. So that, and they have built a community centre, which is an old disused church that they've converted into a community centre. I think taking the energy off what the Triennial's bringing and allowing them to raise funds to say, oh look, this is the time to build a community centre. So yeah, we've involved the community, but not always in very obvious ways.
Has the response been generally positive from the community?
Sure, I think so. I mean, not always, generally, but not exclusively. I mean, for some people, art remains a bit of a mystery, and we're going some way to saying, well, some of it's mysterious, but some of it's very, very accessible. I've just been down the slide. It's very, very accessible.
And has there been noticeable effects of regeneration sort of in a broader sphere across town?
Well, we have 90 buildings here in the Creative Quarter, so we've taken buildings that were falling down or in disrepair or not being used, and we've restored those. So that's a very material change. But what you've also noticed is quite a lot of change in terms of new jobs being provided in the town that are many of them based in the creative industries, where people perhaps who can run a mini micro business here and have clients in London or clients in Europe or clients around are basing themselves here because of the cultural life that there is around. And I can't measure that. I just know because I live in the town and I meet people who are doing that.
How many visitors do you expect to come down during this?
120,000.
Okay, and it runs for how long?
It runs until the 2nd of November.
So that's quite a lot of people in quite a short time, really.
We've already spoken to 9,734 school students and given presentations in their assemblies. Wow. So we already know we've got 10,000 coming, and then we've got the universities and so on, and then we've got the members of the public, and we've got a dig going on right now. So that's going to have a lot at the beach, and then we've got a park. You know, this is going to get a lot of visitors.
And then after the Triennial is over, you're also responsible for Folkestone Artworks, which is the collection of permanent works which are kept on in town.
Yes, that's right.
So when is it decided which works will be kept?
We decided during the course of the Triennial. I think the first decisions are made in October at a board meeting. So Lewis is the curator, and myself will look at the works and think which ones can be permanent and what would that involve technically, financially, and so on. And we also have a curator of the artwork, so they will be saying, well, you know, this would what it would be to look after this one. And then we have a a bit of detail here, but we have a subcommittee of board members that have got Stephen Duca, who runs the Art Fund, and Tim Llewellyn, who used to run the Henry Moore Foundation, and Lord Radnor, who has a strong knowledge in art, and we think yes, and then we make a recommendation to the board.
Okay, and have there been any in the past that you wanted to keep but were unable to?
There was one that was from 2008 that we wanted, which was the Christian Boltanski piece, The Whisper, which was about letters read. It was an audio piece on some benches overlooking the channel, and it was people reading letters between people who went to fight in the war in Europe, some who stayed behind and some who went. And we lost that piece, and we've just raised the money and managed to restore it in time for the start of the 100th anniversary of the start of the First World War. So we brought that one back. Right. There is one artwork that was from 2011 that, you know, I was desperately sad that we didn't manage to keep.
Do you have a tip for which one would be your favourite for keeping this year?
No.
No.
But I can tell you one we will keep.
Which is that?
The park.
The park, for sure.
Sorry, that was unnecessary. It's a park, we've just built the park, of course we're keeping that. No, I haven't got tips for the others. I know which ones can be and which ones can't. But,